SummerSlam 2026 was the biggest party of the summer. Oba, Femi, and Brock Lesnar main evented night one in Lesnar's home state of Minnesota, while Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins main evented night two. That's four of the biggest names in the business today, and not a single person you were supposed to hate. That's not sports entertainment, that's an exhibition. Quick question, when was the last time a WWE main event had actual heat in it? Not crowd noise, or atmosphere, or aura. Not those dueling chants back and forth for your favorites. Heat! The kind of heat where you want somebody to lose so badly it feels personal. The type of heat that I still have with Triple H for beating Booker T at WrestleMania 19 when he was doing the people like you gimmick. I can't remember the last time a big match in WWE was good versus evil. WrestleMania 42, night one was Cody Rhodes, beloved, versus Randy Orton, also beloved. Orton's heel turn was so unconvincing that the crowd cheered him. WWE knew it wasn't working, so their solution was to bring out Pat McAfee to generate heat from ringside. A non-wrestling celebrity had to do the villain's work because the actual villain was too over. No wonder TKO's recruiting so many celebrities from outside of wrestling like Tom Brady, because somebody has to be a heel in this company. Night two was Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, where WWE didn't even try to make a heel. Both are babyfaces universally beloved by the audience they were performing for. The crowd cheered everything. There were no personal stakes, the promos were good, and they did a good job pretending to hate each other, but there was no reason to feel anything other than, I hope my favorite wins. It felt more like a primary between two politicians from the same party than the far more toxic election itself. What was supposed to be a pro wrestling main event born out of a male soap opera became a sparring exhibition in celebration of baby faces. So here's a question WWE's creative team apparently does not ask themselves. Where's the heat? How do we build a bad guy in 2026? And who on this roster can pull it off? Subscribe in Swahili. Here's what real heat looks like. Royal Rumble 2023. Roman Reigns beats the living hell out of Sami Zayn, a guy who WWE fans had spent 12 months prior adopting as their delusional, lovable, desperate little brother who just wanted to fit in with the family like Steve Urkel and the Winslows. Paul Heyman's words, and mine because he stole that shit from me. But Roman doesn't just beat up Sami Zayn. He humiliates him. He destroys him in front of everybody. The crowd doesn't golf clap. They don't chant OTC because they respect Roman more than they do WWE's storytelling. They chant, F you, Roman. This is generational heat, the type that this industry exists to create. What a time to be alive, but WWE hasn't come within a zip code of replicating it since. Even after turning Roman Reigns heel and replicating the Bloodline story, Roman is cheered in 2026 for the same manipulative tactics that made him a legit villain less than 3 years ago. WWE went back to the Bloodline well, looking for heat, and what they got is a tribute band that gets all the nostalgia cheers and none of the boos. Roman Reigns wasn't playing a bad guy during the OG Bloodline era. He was a bad guy. The tribal chief who needed constant validation and would hear zero criticism. A man who bullied his family, manipulated his cousins, and treated his audience like subjects in a monarchy they didn't choose. Now, he's still manipulative, he's still a bully, but there are so many baby faces in this company, WWE has conditioned its fans to cheer everybody. Making Roman Reigns a Bloodline heel isn't enough to get him heat. Now that we've already seen the Bloodline arc play out, I don't know if fans are ever going to go back to booing him. Reigns just gassed up Jacob Fatu to destroy his best friend Royce Keys because Royce wasn't family. People cheered! And as promising as Royce Keys is, he just got here. So who's going to care if a legacy character like Roman Reigns orchestrated the downfall of a newcomer the way he did with a long-term babyface like Sami Zayn? Roman Reigns is taking his victory lap, and WWE isn't doing nearly enough to give you a reason to boo the person. There's literally only one thing WWE can do to make Roman Reigns a heel to its liberal skewing audience, and that's to lean into Roman's real-life love of Donald Trump. In April of 2025, Roman Reigns spoke with Vanity Fair about why he supports Donald Trump. He gave real-life MAGA talking points and described your president as a, quote, positive and competent leader, end quote. His words, not mine. I'm not saying whether he's right or wrong. I mean, he's obviously wrong, but either way, if WWE wants real heat, they need to dig deeper into what would make Roman Reigns more hateable to their own fan base. WWE is terrified of getting political, which I think is a tone-deaf mistake in an era where tribalism draws money and being a both sides ass bitch makes you just that, a bitch without a spine or a purpose. Sure, Roman Reigns is playing a WWE heel, but nobody believes it. He doesn't necessarily even have to say Trump's name, but if all those writers at WWE's paying so much were able to fuse his Trump talking points as a dog whistle for his character, more people would be open to booing him for what he believes rather than cheering for him based on his legacy. Roman can quote things Donald Trump actually said. He can brag about grabbing people by the pussy. I'm sure Issa would volunteer. He can tell fans to drink bleach if they're sick of Triple H's booking. He can say that when it comes to WWE versus AEW, there are good people on both sides. If WWE is really interested in getting Roman Reigns booed in 2026, which they should be, he needs to go from the tribal chief to tribal Trump. Roman Reigns got heat in 2023 based on years of fearless, patient, consistent booking. And that kind of heat, the kind that makes 60,000 people chant obscenities at a pay-per-view, doesn't happen by accident. It happens when creative has the courage to make you believe that the villain actually believes in what he's doing. Right now, Roman is a babyface pretending to be a heel. He's one-dimensional, his act is more stale than Kenny Omega in his 40s, and he's been doing the manipulative bully bit for so long, people have come to appreciate it because that's our OTC. The same way MJF gets cheered for his repetitive heel shtick because he's our scumbag. WWE keeps spamming babyfaces with no nuanced heels, and here's what makes it even more egregious. We're living in the single greatest era in the history of professional wrestling to generate heat. Not because of what any booker is doing in pro wrestling, because of social media, because of what the algorithm has done to the human brain, because wrestling fans online will get furious about anything. And when I say anything, I mean anything. Them crackers is actively looking for a reason to be outraged. So give it to them. It even has its own term now, rage bait. Content designed specifically to provoke outrage in order to drive engagement. And wrestling fans are, by a significant margin, the most chronically online, the most emotionally invested, the most outrage prone, and the least grass-touching audience in the history of sports and entertainment. This is both the criticism and the single greatest commercial opportunity in the business. Anytime Triple H comes anywhere near a podcast mic, motherfuckers are ready to paint a narrative that Paul Levesque is the whole devil. Why isn't WWE capitalizing on this ready-made rage by transferring it to people on their own roster? The formula is right there. Make them angry, make it real, make it personal. Watch what happens. WWE should be farming this. AEW especially shouldn't be doing a babyface exhibition for their biggest show of the year. These promoters are playing it safe when they should be weaponizing the most volatile emotional environment in the history of the internet to create heels that generate genuine visceral reactions. Instead, they're booking babyfaces against babyfaces as their biggest shows of the year and then wondering why attendance is down this summer, which, to be fair, is partly because of World Cup attendance in the United States. Paula Cole from the 90s once asked, "Where have all the cowboys gone?" It was a song about a disillusioned housewife who resented a lazy husband because she was tired of all the outdated tropes of marriage. Fast forward to 2026, and I want to know, where have all the bad guys gone? Because I'm disillusioned with all the lazy booking of one-dimensional babyfaces who are cheered for what they did 10 years ago rather than drawing reactions for what they believe in now. Thing is, there are bad guys in WWE. There is a proof of concept using real-life rage bait to create an effective modern-day heel. And his name is Logan Paul. Logan Paul is the biggest heel in WWE right now, and it has nothing to do with the writers. WWE brass like Bruce Pritchard and Michael P.S. Hayes are too out of touch with the modern world to understand why some streamers are so despised, so they could never write a nuanced heel character like Logan Paul. Thankfully, Logan fell into their lap as the biggest heel because of who Logan Paul really is. The rich, entitled, Trump-supporting, multi-millionaire streamer who made a body video for clout, boxed Floyd Mayweather for the content, built his own audience in a crypto scam, and represents the full portrait of everything that a socially progressive wrestling fan base has been trained to despise. It's WWE's job to create these three-dimensional villains, but they won't, because honestly, they're too scared of real heat that they couldn't if they even tried. WWE should count their lucky stars that Logan Paul just so happened to love wrestling, is a phenomenal athlete, and he came with the factory settings of a scumbag streamer. WWE didn't have to build Logan Paul into a villain. He already was one. All they had to do was put him in the ring, point the camera at him, and let him talk. The heat generated itself. That is the entire argument in one career. The real-world archetype is the character. The audience's pre-existing feelings about the real person transfer directly onto the performer, and it works. So why is Logan Paul an exception instead of a template? Because WWE is scared. WWE is corporate. They have sponsors. They don't want to upset the wrong Twitter account. WWE's fan base skews younger and more socially progressive than the old demographic did. So there's a corporate instinct to soften edges, to sand down anything that might generate a think piece. Just ask Joe Gacy, who played one of those insufferable whites from the far left, the type of people who tell my people what they think we want to hear, the foxes that Malcolm X warned us about. Joe Gacy was a great template for a heel character, but the second it got mainstream coverage from Fox News, WWE panicked and pulled the character all together like pussies. But here's what WWE's upper management seems to have forgotten. The audience being upset is the product. Their outrage is not a warning sign. Like it or not, it's the business model. In some form or fashion, it's always been the business model. The whole point of a heel is that you want someone to see them get beat. And with every generation, you need to update how a heel gets heat, or you'll be left with a promotion filled with harmless baby faces and exhibitions devoid of heat. The manosphere exists. Andrew Tate is a real person with real followers and real prison time. The gym bro, alpha male, women are beneath me archetype is more culturally visible right now than at any point in recent memory. A cocky, insufferable misogynist who cuts promos about how women shouldn't be in the sport, who talks down to everyone, who claims to be a real man in a world of soy boys, would generate heat so intense it would break the internet. Most of the audience would want him destroyed, and sure, some would cheer because they agree with him, but all of that would manifest itself as heat from a character that everybody could react to for better or worse. This is a cruel world looking for people to hate, while also looking for people who they hate to hate that person. That's why Sophie Cunningham is being painted with the conservative brush, because of one sentence about trans athletes that wasn't even politically motivated. It's why Caitlin Clark won't even speak at press conferences to avoid similar backlash. Because outrage in 2026 is inescapable. The conservative woman archetype generates more sustained, genuine outrage online than almost any other cultural figure. Because the people who oppose everything they represent cannot look away. They have to respond. That's the psychological profile of a perfect wrestling heel. You can't ignore them. You can't be neutral. You have to feel something. ICE agents, Trump supporters, racially insensitive characters who don't use slurs but absolutely weaponize dog whistles. Even batshit liberals who want to cancel everybody over pronouns. These are theoretical booking ideas based on real people that millions of Americans have deep, personal, emotional reactions to every single day. Put that in a wrestling ring. Liv Morgan is one of the few wrestlers who gets heat based on her booking, but even that is a missed opportunity because Liv Morgan is currently dating a guy who allegedly has ties to MAGA, and the WWE left reminds her about it every day. Why isn't WWE running with this by having Liv Morgan become the pro wrestling version of Sydney Sweeney? An unapologetic white woman who hates feminism, loves a patriarchy, and thinks men should be providers. Pro wrestling's entire function, going back to the carnival and the territories, is to take real human emotion and put it in a ring where you can scream about it safely. The real world is handing WWE the most potent ingredients for heel heat in the history of the business, and WWE is responding with, nah, let's put a bunch of good guys in the ring from the Shield era. This is awesome. Both these guys. Let's go Roman. Let's go Seth. Let's go Randy. Let's go Cody. Let's go Owens. Let's go Punk. I got an idea. Let's go make some real fucking bad guys. WWE, in all its villain booking cowardice, be like, let's turn Orton heel, but not too heel, because he's too over. That's the type of shit that gets you Pat McAfee doing ringside heel work at WrestleMania 41, which turned out to be one of the most convoluted stories on the entire card when the formula for drawing heat is one Twitter timeline away. There's a rule in professional wrestling that's over 100 years old, and it'll still be a rule 100 years from now. Personal issues draw money. Not match quality or dueling chants, personal issues. The reason the Attitude Era made Vince McMahon a billionaire was not because Stone Cold Steve Austin could do a shooting star press. It was because he had a boss he wanted to destroy, and more importantly, a boss you wanted to see destroyed. A man who represented every corporate bully that every working person has ever hated. Every micromanager and smug executive, every guy who's never been told no in his life. And Austin got to stun the shit out of that guy every week on Beyonce's TV. The reason the Bloodline era became the best received booking of the last 20 years wasn't because Roman Reigns is the most technically gifted performer on the roster. It was because Roman hurt people we cared about, which made you feel something. Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk does not make you feel anything. Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns does not make you feel something. The same goes for babyface Cody Rhodes versus a babyface pretending to be a heel in Randy Orton. This is not a talent problem. Cody Rhodes and CM Punk are exceptional performers. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns are all-timers. This is a booking problem. A creative cowardice problem with a regime that's too scared of its own audience to make anybody a real villain. Enough spineless booking like that will turn WWE into AEW real quick. And until that changes, until somebody with power in WWE that has the courage to build genuinely despised characters rooted in something real that its audience hates, we're going to keep watching premium live events where a bunch of babyfaces shake hands, kiss each other on the mouth, and call it a main event. The greatest heels in wrestling history didn't just play bad guys. They made you believe that they were bad people. Roddy Piper, Jake Roberts, Mr. McMahon, 2023 Roman Reigns, and even Logan Paul. Not one of them worried about whether or not they were too much. They committed, and the audience rewarded them with the most valuable currency in pro wrestling, genuine heat. WWE has more tools right now to manufacture that hatred than any era in history. Social media, cancel culture, rage bait culture, real-world villains that the audience already has opinions about. The entire manosphere is sitting right there, fully formed, fully hateable, and ready to be put in tights and kick pads. All WWE has to do is stop being scared. Until then, enjoy the counterproductive storytelling of two great guys with zero heat for their match. WWE is currently trying to build a top heel with Lyra Valkyria, who recently destroyed one of its biggest babyfaces in Bayley. For more on Bayley's future, check out this video.